Friends, I want to tell you about a secret, a profound, joyful discovery that literally flipped my understanding of Jesus upside down. For years, I was that guy. I sat in the pews, I read my Bible, I prayed, I tried to be good, and yet there was this persistent, quiet whisper in the back of my soul that kept saying, something is missing. Do you know that feeling? That sense that the incredible, radical, life altering truth of Jesus was somehow getting filtered, edited, or maybe, dare I say it, diluted before it ever reached your ears. I loved Jesus, had immense faith in him, but the religion surrounding him often left me feeling exhausted and honestly just a little bit small. I spent years digging, reading everything from the Apocrypha to the early church fathers. And what I found, what I unearthed, was not a theological contradiction, but a profound conspiracy of complacency. It wasn't a conspiracy in the sense of a shadowy group meeting in a basement. It was a systemic organizational flattening of Jesus' most potent, most dangerous message. Think about it. The same Jesus who turned water into wine and walked on water, the very embodiment of boundless possibility, was somehow being presented to us as a distant judge who required layers of bureaucracy and good deeds just to grant us a fleeting sip of his love. One day, I was studying the book of Luke, a passage I'd read dozens of times, and suddenly, the words of Jesus didn't sound like the gentle, lamb-like figure I'd been taught. They sounded like pure, righteous fire. Luke 11:52. Woe to you lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in you hindered. I'd always skipped past it, assumed it was a general scolding of the Pharisees. But reading it that day, a chill ran down my spine, and I thought, wait a minute. Jesus wasn't just mildly irritated with the religious elite, he was enraged with them. He wasn't mad at the prostitutes, the tax collectors, or the thieves, the so-called sinners. He was furious with the gatekeepers, the people who had taken the simple, direct path to the divine and wrapped it in so many rules, rituals, and fees that no one could find the door. I started to realize that the ultimate theft wasn't gold or possessions. It was the theft of the key to the kingdom, a key Jesus handed to everyone, yet the establishment convinced us only they could hold. They built an entire system based on the premise that you are broken. You are fundamentally flawed. You are too sinful, too insignificant to approach God directly. You need a mediator, you need a priest in a box, you need a sacrament, you need the church to intercede. It's a brilliant business model, really, built entirely on your perceived inadequacy. But what if that entire premise is the lie they built their empire on? What if Jesus never, not once, said you were broken? What if his entire explosive message was that you are already whole, already divine, already carrying everything you've been taught to seek outside yourself? It was a light bulb moment for me, a joyful, radical realization that the power was never meant to be out there in the altar or the hierarchy. It was meant to be right here, in your hands, in your heart, in your own direct, unmediated connection to the divine. If that key was truly yours, why would you keep paying someone else to unlock doors for you? You aren't broken. You don't need saving in the way they taught. You need remembering. This led me down a fascinating path into the forgotten corners of early Christian history, where I stumbled upon words that the church fathers tried to burn out of existence, the sayings they called the ultimate blasphemy. They are truths that, once you hear them, become utterly self-evident. The first great teaching they buried, the one that collapses the entire temple of control, is beautifully simple. It's found in the lost Gospel of Thomas. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. Do you see how earth-shattering that is? Jesus didn't say, come to church to know God. He didn't say, confess to a priest to know God. He said, know yourself, and you will know God. The path wasn't about bowing lower or praying louder. It was about turning your attention inward. The divine isn't some distant old man on a throne waiting for you to gravel your way up a cosmic ladder. The divine is the spark that has always been burning inside you. Religion taught you to look outward, to golden robes, to altars, to crosses. Jesus taught you to look inward, to the place where you and God have never, for a single moment, been separate. This realization wasn't an attack on my faith in Jesus. It was a profound deepening of it. It made him bigger, bolder, and so much more revolutionary. It showed me that the reason I often felt sermons were hollow or prayers felt empty was that I was already carrying what they were trying to sell me. My friends, if this is hitting you deep in your spirit, if you're feeling that spark ignite, then this is your community. This is where we share these forgotten truths and carry the flame. Hit that subscribe button right now, not just as a click, but as a vow of remembrance. A promise to yourself that you are ready to remember what you were taught to forget. Because we are only just getting started. The key has been reclaimed, but now we must learn where it truly opens the next door, and that door requires an entirely new way of seeing. I hope you've grabbed a cup of coffee and settled in, because what we're about to discuss next is perhaps the most cryptic, the most challenging, and the most powerfully liberating teaching Jesus ever gave. It's the teaching that reveals how to use the key we just reclaimed, the key of self-knowledge. Once you realize the divine lives inside you, the next question is obvious. How do I see it? How do I perceive this reality when I'm constantly bombarded by messages that tell me the opposite? Jesus spoke in code, and he had to. The truth was simply too dangerous for the religious authorities to hear in plain language. If you read the Gospels with this hidden lens, you begin to see his words not as simple moral anecdotes, but as precise instructions for inner transformation. Consider this passage from Matthew 6:22, which is often glossed over. The lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. When I first read this through the lens of the hidden Gospels, I thought, holy smokes, he wasn't talking about physical vision. He was talking about inner sight, the ability to see reality not as religion has programmed you to see it, through the lens of sin, separation, and scarcity, but as it truly is, whole, connected, and abundant. The single eye is purified perception. It is the awakened vision that sees through the illusion of separation. For centuries, the church has been built on the duality of separation, God and man, holy and profane, heaven and earth. But when the single eye opens, you stop seeing God as distant, holy, and untouchable. You start seeing God as everywhere, in everything, as everything. You look at a simple cup, a blooming flower, or a stranger on the street, and you see the Christ staring back at you. You look in the mirror and you see not a sinner in need of saving, but a son or daughter of the living God. This teaching was violently suppressed because it eliminates the need for any religious middleman. If your inner eye can see God directly, if you can perceive the sacred in the ordinary, why do you need special buildings, special garments, or special ceremonies? Religion keeps you spiritually blind, so you will keep depending on them to see for you. Jesus came to open your eyes so you could finally see for yourself. This realization, friends, is the most exciting, faith-affirming adventure you could ever embark on. It takes the abstract concept of faith and makes it a tangible, lived reality. Now, once the single eye begins to clear, once we start seeing the world through that lens of oneness, what do we see stirring inside? We see the potential for the kingdom, which Jesus described using the image of the smallest thing imaginable, the mustard seed. He said the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs. Think about why he chose that tiny seed. Not the majestic cedar, not the towering oak. The mustard seed, tiny, easily overlooked, considered almost worthless by the world. And yet, hidden inside that insignificant little speck is the infinite potential for something vast, something life-sustaining. This is the Christ seed inside you right now. Small, hidden, easy to ignore. The world tells you it doesn't matter. Religion tells you it's corrupted by sin. Your own mind tells you it's not enough. Unbelievable. That restlessness you've always felt. That deep longing for something more. That sense that you were made for greatness. That is the Christ seed, stirring, pushing against the heavy soil of your conditioning. If you know the seed of the kingdom is already planted in you, why would you need priests to hand it to you? If you know you carry infinite potential, why would you keep begging for scraps of divine love? This profound truth shifts your energy from seeking to nurturing. This isn't about getting saved. It's about growing the divinity that was planted at your creation. And if this message resonates with the deep truth you feel inside, If the single eye is starting to clear for you right now, then I need you to commit. Subscribe right now and tell the algorithm, tell the world, that the hidden gospel must be shared. We are building a sanctuary for seekers, and we need your voice. But a seed alone isn't enough, is it? It needs a hidden force to transform the whole loaf. That brings us to the fifth revelation, the secret of invisible transformation. The kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, is also like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal until the whole was leavened. Leaven is a silent worker. You can't see it happening, you can't rush it, you can't control it, but it transforms everything it touches from the inside out. This is how the Spirit of Christ works in you, not through lightning bolts or dramatic altar calls or religious performances, but through a quiet, gradual, unstoppable inner revolution. Religion wants instant, dramatic salvation, a prayer that changes everything overnight. Jesus revealed a deeper truth. Transformation is a slow miracle that happens in the hidden places of your heart. If you knew transformation was already happening invisibly inside you, you wouldn't depend on their noisy spectacles. You might not feel dramatically different today than you did last week, but I promise you, the leaven is working. The Christ consciousness is expanding through every corner of your being. Think back to who you were 5 years ago, what you believed about yourself, what you thought was possible. Now, look at the courage it took to watch a video like this, the hunger for truth you feel. That's not random personal growth. That is the leaven of Christ consciousness at work. The old wineskins of who you thought you were can't contain who you are becoming. The seed has sprouted, the leaven is working, and the transformation is unstoppable. But as you change from within, as that leaven fills every measure of your life, something extraordinary begins to flow from your deepest part. And that is our final, beautiful discovery. Stay with me, because this last part is the emotional crescendo of the entire hidden gospel. The leaven is working, friends. That inner, quiet revolution is transforming you, expanding the Christ seed into a magnificent tree of consciousness. And as that transformation takes hold, as you shed the programmed identity of being broken, something beautiful flows forth from the deepest part of your being. This is where the story of Jesus reaches its emotional peak, where he offers a fulfillment so complete it renders all previous striving obsolete. We're talking about living water. Jesus told the woman at the well, "Whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life." Religion sells you scarcity. It tells you God's love is limited, conditional, something you have to earn through good behavior and endless performance. They teach you that divine connection is rare, that you need to keep coming back to their wells, keep paying their prices, keep proving you're worthy of another sip. But Jesus promised abundance. Not just enough, but more than enough. Not just temporary relief, but eternal satisfaction. And the most incredible part? It's not something you have to beg for. It's something you already are. Wow! The church buried this teaching because if you knew you had your own infinite connection to the source, you'd stop depending on their finite supplies. If you discovered the living water flows from within you, their entire business of selling spiritual drought would collapse. That deep, unearned peace you feel sometimes when you're alone in nature, that joy that bubbles up for no reason, that boundless love that flows through you when you're serving others, that is your inner spring. That is the fountain Jesus promised. You were never meant to be spiritually thirsty. You were meant to be a fountain. This is your inheritance awakening. The key has been reclaimed. The inner eye has opened. The seed is growing. The leaven is working, and the living water is flowing. All of this leads to the ultimate, final, forbidden revelation, the one that changes absolutely everything. It is the destination of the entire journey we've taken together. It's the full circle of the hidden gospel. The lost gospel of Thomas gives us the final, explosive statement. The kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you. This is it. This is the truth that destroys 2,000 years of religious programming. The kingdom of God is not a place you go when you die. It is not a reward for perfect behavior, locked away in some heaven, waiting for the right religious membership card. The kingdom is here, now, in you, as you, around you, through you. If the kingdom is already here, you don't need to wait for salvation. If the kingdom is inside you, you don't need external validation. If the kingdom is as you, then you are not a sinner begging for mercy. You are divinity itself, temporarily disguised in human form. You are not a follower. You are a continuation of the Christ consciousness. Every chapter we've walked through, the stolen key, the single eye, the seed, the leaven, the water, all of it leads to this one moment of recognition. Religion taught you to wait. Jesus taught you to wake up. You have remembered what was buried for centuries. The hidden gospel isn't just words on ancient papyrus. It's you awakened. It's the Christ consciousness living, breathing, and walking through your daily life. My friends, those of us who have followed Jesus for so long, who have loved him deeply, now have the glorious opportunity to love him too much to leave him trapped in the cage of religion. We are the scattered ones, the seekers, the underground church of the living Christ, coming back together. We are proof that what they tried to bury can never stay dead. Now, you must live it. You must protect it. You must carry it forward. If this fire is burning in your bones right now, if you know you are meant to be a fountain and not a beggar, then you belong here. Subscribe now, not just for more videos, but as a commitment to this profound, ongoing awakening. Hit the like button to signal to other seekers that the light still burns and they are not alone. And comment below with the words, "I am now awakening," so that we may recognize each other and grow this underground church of light. Go now and remember who you are. The kingdom is waiting for you to simply open your eyes and see that it has been here all along.